Hi, my name is Christopher Hart, and this is my game Synthesis. It is an abstract molecular dynamics simulator played by programming cellular automata. In it, you take on the role of a scientist who works for a company that makes custom molecules. You try to win grants for different structures, and if you can figure out the program to have the molecules create that structure, you win the grant. I'm just going to load up an example. All the triangles that are flying around are the nodes, which represent nanocomputers that you can program. See, there's thousands of them out there. They're all interacting, they're bonding, they're breaking bonds, they're changing colors. And that's all based on a program that has been set in this edit seed menu, where it has a big flowchart of drop-down menus. And you can just kind of come in, you don't need to know any code, mess around with drop-down menus and add new lines to the flowchart, and you're programmed. So that was a pretty complicated program, but it doesn't need to be that complicated. You can start much more simply, and the interesting thing about having these thousands of computers out there is that a very simple program can have very complex codes. So we're going to start with one of the grants, and this one wants us to make a chain of 10. I'm going to come in, create a new node. Every node can have behaviors. Every behavior has triggers and actions. If all of the triggers are true, and you can have multiple triggers, then it will go through each action and do it. So to start, we're going to have a trigger that says if the distance is greater than 0, bonds. This node now is programmed. When you have a grant, you get 1 seed to win. You can purge the autoclave and restart, but you have to be able to make the chain from 1 seed. So this seed has bonded with everything it can. And, there's a maximum number of bonds per node of 6. So if you made those 6 bonds, then it stops. And it's because it never copied its program. We need to give it a second action, copy program. So now it's going to bond and then copy program. So wipe the autoclave, introduce our new seed. It's bonding and it's copying its program now, but it's just made a blob. We have to be more selective with what we bond with. Instead of bonding with everything in range, distance greater than 0, we want to think about the end structure that we need, this chain. Every node in a chain will only have a left and a right partner, so that's only 2 bonds. So we want to stop it from bonding once it hits 2. So we're going to say if the bonds on this node are less than 2, then it's allowed to bond the copy program. Once it hits 2, this will no longer happen. I'm going to introduce that seed. Alright, so now each of these nodes has 2 bonds, but the ends are connected together. So we're almost there. We just need one final trigger. We need to be slightly more selective to stop it from bonding onto itself. We want to look at the bonds of the other node that it's trying to bond with every time and say, alright, if that equals 0, so if it's one of these blank blue nodes floating around, then it's allowed to bond with it. So if the bonds on the other node are 0, if the bonds on this node are less than 2, bond copy program. Let's start with this. And we can see we've grown into a chain. Now there's any number of different ways you could have solved that puzzle. This is my solution. It's sort of interesting that all of these grants, there's any number of solutions. It only looks for the structure. So that's kind of fun. I'm just going to go in and load up really quick a couple examples. So this is sort of a neural network structure, or it's just made by every branch being a totally new branch. It can never loop back onto itself. Here's 2 different node types that are battling each other. They are trying to steal each other ends away and add them onto themselves. This is a ladder structure where there's 2 different chains that must link to each other before they can grow again, so it links and grows and links and grows. This one spawns tetrahedras. It just makes these seeds that replicate, and then each seed can grow. And I guess there's a whole lot of more examples you can check out in the game. The graphics look much better in game than in a compressed video. There's a tutorial that explains all the basics. So please, if you have a chance, check it out. Thanks for watching this video, and have a good day.